and welcome to the Let's Read portion of the show, where we take a moment to appreciate the literature of Skyrim. Today, we will be reading 2920 Rain's Hand, Volume 4. Book 4 of 2920, The Last Year of the First Era, Rain's Hand, by Karlovac Townway, Volume 4 of a historical series about Vives and the Empire. Third Rain's Hand, 2920, Coldharbour Oblivion. Sothis proceeded as quickly as he could through the blackened halls of the palace, half submerged in brackish water. All around him, nasty gelatinous creatures scurried into the reeds. Bursts of white fire lit up the upper arches of the hall before disappearing. The smells assaulted him. Rancid death one moment, sweet flowered perfume the next. Several times he had visited the Daedra princes in their oblivion, but every time something different awaited him. He knew his purpose and refused to be distracted. 8 of the more prominent Daedra princes were awaiting him in the half-melted, doomed room. Azura, Prince of Dusk and Dawn. Boethia, Prince of Plots. Herma Mora, Daedra of Knowledge. Hircine, the Hunter. Malakath, God of Curses. Maroons Dagon, Prince of Disaster. Molag Bal, Prince of Rage. Shegarath, the Mad One. Above them, the sky cast tormented shadows upon the meeting. 5 Rain's Hand, 2920, the Isle of Artyom, Somerset. Sothis' voice cried out, echoing from the cave. Move the rock! Immediately the initiates obeyed, rolling aside the great boulder that blocked the entrance to the dreaming cavern. Sothis emerged, his face smeared with ash, weary. He felt he had been away for months, years, but only a few days had transpired. Lilatha took his arm to help him walk, but he refused her help with a kind smile and a shake of his head. Were you successful? She asked. The Daedra princes I spoke with have agreed to our terms, he said flatly. Disasters such as befell Gilverdale should be averted. Only through certain intermediaries, such as witches or sorcerers, will they answer the call of man and Myr. And what did you promise them in return? Asked the Nord boy Welleg. The deals we make with the Daedra, said Sothis, continuing to Ichus's palace to meet with the master of the Psijic Order, should not be discussed with the innocent. 8 Rain's Hand, 2920, the Imperial City, Cyrodiil. A storm belated the windows of the prince's bedchamber, bringing a smell of moist air to mix with the censer filled with burning incense and herbs. A letter has arrived from the Empress, your mother, said the courier, anxiously inquiring after your health. What frightened parents I have, laughed the Prince Jelek from his bed. It is only natural for a mother to worry, said Severine Charok, the potentate's son. There is everything unnatural about my family, Akavir. My exiled mother fears my father will imagine me of being a traitor, covetous of the crown, and is having me poisoned. The prince sank back into his pillow, annoyed. The Emperor has insisted on me having a taster for all my meals as he does. There are many plots, agreed the Akavir. You have been abed for nearly 3 weeks, with every healer in the Empire shuffling through like a slow ballroom dance. At least, all can see that you're getting stronger. Strong enough to lead the vanguard against Morrowind soon, I hope, said Jelek. 11 Rain's Hand, 2920, the Isle of Artyom, Somerset. The initiates stood quietly in a row along the arbor logging, watching the long, deep, marble-lined trench ahead of them flash with fire. The air above it vibrated with the waves of heat. Though each student kept his or her face sturdy and emotionless, as a true Psijic should, their terror was nearly as palpable as the heat. Sothis closed his eyes and uttered the charm of fire resistance. Slowly, he walked across the chasm of leaping flames, climbing to the other side unscathed. Not even his white robe had been burned. The charm is intensified by the energy you bring to it, by your own skills, just as all spells are, he said. Your imagination and your willpower are the keys. There is no need for a spell to give you a resistance to air, or a resistance to flowers, and after you cast the charm, you must forget there is even a need for a spell to give you resistance to fire. Do not confuse what I am saying. Resistance is not about ignoring the fire's reality. You will feel the substance of flame, the texture of it, its hunger, and even the heat of it, but you will know that it will not hurt you or injure you. The students nodded, and one by one they cast the spell and made the walk through the fire. Some even went so far as to bend over and scoop up a handful of fire and feed it air. So it expanded like a bubble and melted through their fingers. Sothis smiled. They were fighting their fear admirably. The chief procurator Thargoeth came running from the arbor arches. Sothis, Alamaxia has arrived on Artyom. Ichthys told me to fetch you. Sothis turned to Thargoeth for only a moment, but he knew instantly from the screams what had transpired. The Nord lad Weleg had not cast the spell properly, and was burning. The smell of scorched hair and flesh panicked the other students, who were struggling to get out of the basin, pulling him with them, but the incline was too steep away from the entry points. With a wave of his hand, Sothis extinguished the flame. Weleg and several other students were burnt, but not badly. The sorcerer cast a healing spell on them, before turning back to Thargoeth. I'll be with you in a moment, and give Alamaxia the time to shake the road dust off her train. Sothis turned back to the students, his voice flat. Fear does not break spells, but doubt and incompetence are the great enemies of any spellcaster. Master Weleg, you will pack your bags. I'll arrange for a boat to bring you to the mainland tomorrow morning. The sorcerer found Alamaxia and Ichthys in the study, drinking hot tea and laughing. She was more beautiful than he remembered, though he had never before seen her so disheveled. Wrapped in a blanket, dangling her damp, long, black tresses before the fire to dry. At Sothis' approach, she leapt to her feet and embraced him. "Did you swim all the way from Morrowind?" he smiled. "It's pouring rain, from Skywatch down to the coast," she explained, returning his smile. "Only a half a league away, and it never rains here," said Ichthys proudly. "Of course, I sometimes miss the excitement of Somerset, and sometimes even the mainland itself. Still, I'm always very impressed by anyone out there who gets anything accomplished. It is a world of distraction. Speaking of distraction, what's all this I hear about a war?" "You mean the one that's been bloodying the continent for the last 8 years, master?" asked Sothis, amused. "I suppose that's the one I mean," said Ichthys, with a shrug of his shoulders. "How is that war going?" "We will lose it unless I can convince Sothis to leave the Artyom," said Alamaxia, losing her smile. She had meant to wait to talk to her friend in private, but the old Altmer gave her courage to press on. "I have had visions. I know it to be true." Sothis was silent for a moment, and then looked at Ichthys. "I must return to Morrowind." "Knowing you, if you must do something, you will," sighed the old master. "The Sigic's way is not to be distracted. Wars are fought, empires rise and fall. You must go, and so must we." "What do you mean, Ichthys? You're leaving the island?" "No. The island will be leaving the sea. said Ichthys, his voice taking on a dreamy quality. "In a few years the mist will move over Artyom and will be gone. We are consulars by nature, and there are too many consulars in Tamriel as it is. No, we will go, and return when the lands need us again, perhaps in another age." The old Altimer struggled to his feet and drained the last sip of his drink before leaving Sothis and Alamaxia alone. "Don't miss the last boat. The year continues in Second Seed." Thank you for joining us for another episode of Shadow's Let's Read the Books of Skyrim.